has been many inquiries of a full walkthrough and tour of my boat Tessie the past years.
Straight into the big North Sea again.
Many viewers wonder what I carry on board.
Oh wow, 37, 35 knots.
To endure the worst of the North Atlantic winter storms.
So this is a little bit more than I expected.
Down to calm, flat conditions. So I guess it's time. Tessie has been going through a large amount of upgrades.
This is the new installation.
Over a time span of 22 years. With one specific goal in mind.
Yes.
To make her fully equipped for safe, long-range, single-handed sailing in all kinds of conditions.
Fucking hell! Oh,
So let's do a detailed tour of my Contessa 35. Alright, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to have a full walkthrough of my beautiful Contessa 35. I bought it in 2004, been having it for 22 years, and I fell completely in love with her because of the beautiful design and but actually most of all the heavy keel. 50% of the total weight of the boat is sitting in the keel at 3.2 tons. So that makes her an extraordinary ocean-going and seaworthy boat. So the keel is molded in lead, which is 38 to 40% heavier than steel. This provides a much heavier keel within the same volume compared to steel. It is also softer and absorbs energy better than steel, which is harder. This I found out the hard way when I smashed into a fixed submerged rock, doing full speed by engine. Tessie got roughed up pretty bad, but due to the great energy absorption of the soft lead keel, I was able to save her. Check out the video regarding the crash in the video description. Now let's get back to today's Tessie. Her total length is 10.85 meters or 35 feet. Beam is 3.5 meters or 11.5 feet. Mast height from top to sea level is 16.5 meters or 55 feet. And as we are doing the walkthrough, there will be all the videos covering all of the different installation of the different equipment will be linked in the video description under this video. Reminder, you can support my work here by becoming my patron to see videos up front before they go on YouTube, and you can donate any amount on PayPal. Check out my Facebook and Instagram, and of course check out my NBJS merchandise checking the links in the video description. It's all there. So now let's visualize that we are sailing from here, from Haugesund to Balta Sound on Shetland, crossing the North Sea. And I will take you through the whole process and how I use all my equipment on board and take it step by step. So it's going to be a video about a lot of technical stuff. I think Tessie might be the world's most advanced, best equipped 35-foot boat from 1976, I guess. So I hope it's going to be interesting. So let's go. So the first thing I need to do is to disconnect the shore power, and it's right here. So the shore power supplies my heating oven here, 220 volts, and also heating for the engine. This white pipe here, 120 watts, keeps the moist out of the engine room, and yeah, if it's cold and moist outside. And also the battery charger up here, Victron, 30 amp for the batteries. So now we're leaving the dock, and Tessie needs to go forward. So what makes her go forward? And for that we have a beautiful Volvo Penta 43 horsepower D240, and it's connected to a mechanical gearbox with a shaft going out to a Gory folding propeller. And the folding propeller, you can check the installation video in the video description. And the diesel tank takes about 143 liters, and I have cans on together 200 liters placed around the boat in the cabin and outside in the cockpit. So the total range is about 550 nautical miles, and that's from here about to the Dover Strait in the English Channel. So it's quite good. And I have 2 alternators mounted on the engine, and they are charging all my batteries. 3 times 150 amps of lithium, and 1 starter battery, and 1 for the anchor at the bow. And both the alternators is doing about 117 amps, so that's also quite good. So having 2 alternators, you have more boost for the batteries, but if one of them breaks down, you have 1 in spare to go. So it's good for safety as well. So now we're on open sea and we need to hoist our sails to continue across the North Sea. So what have we got? Let's first talk about what keeps the sails flying, the mast and rigging. On Tessie I have a 16.5 meter tall mast and it's a masthead rig, and that means that the forestay and the backstay comes all the way up to the top of the mast. And I have 2 sets of spreaders, which means that the mast is very simple to use and maintain, less wires around the boat, but it makes the mast a little bit more unstable when you reef the sails, and it can be a little bit more shaky. So on the stern I have a couple of check stays going halfway up the mast and a baby stay on the front going up at the same point of the mast halfway to stabilize the mast. And all the lines for reefing the mainsail is going down to winches on deck. And I have a lot of questions on why I have all the lines on deck. Why don't you pull them back to the cockpit? And it would be a better option, but it will also create a lot of lines in my cockpit. There's enough lines as it is. And I'm just really used to using the winches on deck. I have to climb up on deck, but I've done it for 22 years, so it's no big deal for me. I like the action as well. To be forced to go on deck and do some work, it's a little bit more action, isn't it? So what sails do I have on Tessie? Well, I have sails for all kinds of wind. Let's take a look at the sail wardrobe. All my sails are produced by Rolly Tasker in their huge sail loft in Phuket, Thailand. The mainsail and genoa is made up by a mix of polyester and Dyneema, making a super strong structure, probably stronger than my rig. I've swapped all the lines around the boat to Dyneema as it's much stronger, softer and lighter to work with, and it's more immune towards salt corrosion and moisture. To make hoisting and reefing the mainsail easier, even straight downwind, a mast track fitted with ball bearing sliders is installed.
And this goes so smooth because of the slider system, these track sliders.
I use the full mainsail and winds up to 12 to 15 knots, hitting the boat on the beam. Reef 1 for winds from 15 to 20 knots, or like here, reef 2 for winds from 20 to 30 knots, also dependent on wave conditions. When the winds are pushing 30 to 35 knots, the third and deepest reef comes into play. And at last, when winds are peaking 40 to 45 knots and above, the mainsail usually gets recovered on the boom, only flying the headsail, as the boat feels well balanced in such conditions. I have a genoa on a roll on the bow, and also a jib sail on a jib sail stay at its own inside there. The inner cutter stay is properly fixed and anchored to a solid bracket bolted onto the bow stringer in the anchor locker. Pad ice under and over deck secures the connection between the stay and the bracket. And I have a storm sail for the high winds. And a janaker for sailing in lighter winds, downwind and from the side beam. The janaker is on a furler and can easily be deployed by one person from the cockpit. It's a great sail to fly when everything works in decent winds.
Problem again with the furlough system.
When the wind suddenly picks up to a point, you have to roll it back in.
It's stuck. Stuck completely.
Things can quickly get out of hand with the furlough system.
Just let it all go in the water.
Like in this situation, when winds suddenly reached 26 knots north of the coast of Iceland. The furler got tangled in the janaker sheets. The only way was to let it go into the sea. Pulling a soaked downwind sail over the rail is at least a good training session for the arms and back. For the ego, not so much. It's tempting being lazy keeping the rolled sail up, but it's always best to store it safely on deck.
Always something.
And I always carry my storm sail here at all times because the winds are so unpredictable up here. So it can go from 10 to 30 knots in no time. So instead of having the storm sail down under, I have to go down and get it. You know, the waves picks up, and it's a terrible job to get that storm sail and deploy it, and when it's too late. Like in this situation on my way to Linde's farm, the wind increased rapidly. The jib sail was suddenly too much canvas, and I had to take it down. It's a nasty job holding on to the moving bow while taking down that sail. Installing the Hank-on storm sail in these conditions was just too risky.
That was quite a job.
Therefore, I rather pulled out some rolls on the Genoa. So I figure out it's better to just have it on deck. If the wind picks up, I can furl the Genoa in quite some bit, and I use the ollie blocks to get the sheet closer to center of the boat if I have to go upwind. But if that's not sustainable, I'll use the storm sail. The sails are now set. Let's visualize we are 10 miles off the coast of Norway, setting our course towards Svalbard Sound on Shetland, 200 nautical miles away. Now I need something to keep Tessie on course, as I can't hold on to the steering wheel 24/7, sailing single-handed. And to steer the boat, I use the Raymarine EV200. It's not a hydraulic but electrical autopilot that steers the main rudder of the boat. And I have a backing plate here, and the autopilot itself is under here, and it goes like an arm in and out, steering the quadrant on the rudder inside here. The rudder angle sensor constantly feeds the autopilot the position of the rudder. And I must say I am really impressed with the quality. I've been having it for several years now, and it steers dead on the course every time, even in really rough weather. So steering is crucial on board, and the autopilot is doing a perfect job. I'm really impressed. And the autopilot compass is sitting under the floorboards here. There we go. I got a plastic bag around it for safety to keep it out of moisture, but it's waterproof anyway. And here's the temperature and speed sensor. And there's the depth sensor. It doesn't go through the boat, but it senses through the hull down in the sea. It's really accurate. I've logged depths up to 600 meters with it. That's impressive as well. So we are out sailing now. Everything is good. We are on course. Autopilot is steering, and we've found our course to the destination, to Svalbard Sound. But when that happens, I always switch from autopilot to hydrovane to release the powers, the strains on the autopilot. And this is the hydrovane. It has its own rudder that usually sits there. It's not here because I don't use it now. And it has a big red flip-flop wind vane here. And the mechanics is really easy. To turn the rudder around here, we need to adjust the flip-flop into the wind. Let's say the wind comes here now, and eventually the boat will come off course, and then the wind will push the vane over. Turning this, and also turning the rudder like this. So the boat comes back on course, maybe a little too much, to the other side. And it turns the rudder the other way. And that's how it goes on, and it keeps the boat on course. It's a little bit like it goes like this. The autopilot is on a perfect line, but the hydrovane is a little bit like this. But even though it's worth the change to the hydrovane. Feels much safer. It's a really rigid mechanical lump of iron, and it's really strong. So I use it every time offshore. So there are 6 ways of steering Tessie. 1 is hand steering, obviously. 2nd is using the autopilot. 3rd is hydrovane. For emergency steering, number 4 is connecting my emergency autopilot to the hydrovane tiller. 5th is hand steering that same tiller.
I can steer it by hand like this.
And last option is using the emergency tiller on the main rudder.
And I can operate her by the main rudder.
So now we're out sailing and we need to know where we are and where to go. So, you know, in the Viking times they had their sunstone and their little needle compass, but today we are lucky to have a little bit more advanced equipment. So I had my Raymarine full gear navigation system on board. It's fantastic and let's take a look. When I'm close to shore or entering a trafficked area, I'm keeping watch from my cockpit. Here I have 2 chart plotters. One on the port side displaying the radar and one on the starboard side showing the chart. The radar gets its signal from this radar dome using Wi-Fi connection. The dome sits on a self-leveling bracket to create an even and realistic radar picture. I use the combination especially during dark or in fog sailing in unknown waters close to shore. Port display shows wind details and the autopilot control to starboard. A screen is also installed on the mast foot, showing wind details in a large scale. This way, wind information is always in my direct vicinity, even with the chart plotters turned off to save power offshore.
Switch off the chart plotters outside. I don't really need them while sailing way off out in the ocean. I only have the one inside.
So the chart plotters outside is what I use when I'm obviously outside. But eventually I need to get some heat and or go inside, and then I have a nav station inside. Let's take a look. So this is the nav station inside. As you can see, I have the same control over radar. Here is the CIA thermal camera, really cool, and also charts. So when I'm lying down here, I have complete control, just the same as outside. So now we are sailing. I'm down in the cabin and Tessie is doing 6-7 knots. But I would really like to see what happens around me, what is happening around me in the environment. And to solve that, sailing alone, you know, you can't be up all the time. And to make things a little bit simpler and maybe also safer, I have a lot of cameras covering all around Tessie and what's happening with the traffic around me or whatever it could be. So let's have a look at all the cameras. I have one camera on the mast top and it shows a pretty perfect view of everything going on in front of the boat. So the camera is 16.5 meters above sea level, so we have a great view of the front. And to check for my sails and what's happening on the boat in the cockpit, I have this cockpit camera sitting on a pole 3 meters above sea level with a good view of the boat. And I have not very good access to the backside of the engine. I have to remove a lot of stuff to get there. But this is a camera view of the gearbox and the shaft to see if any water comes out or to see if the shaft is spinning or not. With the folding propeller being in or out, folded out or in.
The propeller is spinning. I'm gonna put it in reverse.
And the camera is also infrared, so if you take away the light, it will turn on its infrared lighting. And it's pitch dark in the engine room now, so if I turn on the light, you'll see a big difference. 1, 2, 3. Then you get, of course, a much clearer view. And when I'm anchored, I also have a camera pointing down at the anchor. This way, I haven't got a really good vision from the cockpit forward to the anchor. I can't see it because the storm sail bag is in the way. So now I can see the anchor going up and down, and I'm also able to see the angle of the chain, which direction it is when I'm going to pull it up when I'm done anchoring. So that's also really helpful. So all these cameras are static in one position, but to be able to see around my boat 360 omnidirectional, I have my M300C Raymarine camera. It's amazing. You can pan around wherever you want, 360 up and down. See even on the mast top here or down on deck. And there is also a 30 times zoom on the camera, 30 time optical zoom. So look at the details here. I'm going to zoom in to the anchor here, and you should be able to see very detailed around it. So these are the knobs fastening the anchor, and you can see the text that is stamped in on the steel part here. It's crazy. And then home button, one push, and the camera zooms all the way out and back into position. And it's also gyro stabilized, so when the boat moves, the picture is still.
Some kind of a military ship passing by us here. Let's see if we can pick it up with our little Raymarine zoom camera.
So that's the daylight cameras. What about sailing in complete darkness during a pitch black stormy night in the North Sea?
Dangerous.
And this is the CIA thermal camera, and it is amazing. Look at that. This is the view in front of the boat right now. By the temperature of the different surfaces of what's in front of me, it can paint a perfect picture of it. And that's really helpful when I'm in my cabin here. I wonder what the hell is going on outside in stormy seas, pitch black dark in the open ocean, and I can just push a button and I have a full view of what's happening in front of me. That's what the infrared cameras can pick up. The infrareds are like 30-40 meters in front of the boat. Everything there is good, but outside that it won't pick up the details like a thermal camera will. Right, so to not overwhelm you with all this equipment and details, I'm gonna end the video here, and I'm gonna do the second and last part covering the rest of the boat just in a bit. So thank you for tagging along, and remember, Patreon, Facebook, PayPal, support me at any way you want, or just watch this video. I would really appreciate if you subscribe, like, and make a comment under the comment section here. You can ask a question if you're wondering about something of the boat, or me personally, ask a question in the comment section, and I'll try to take it in the next video. All right, see you.